Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Joe Huffle, Reverend Dr. Charles Williams Jr., Superintendent Michael Woodall, and Melissa Ghostin. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, the Vice President, the First Lady, and Tipper Gore. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the invocation delivered by the Reverend Dr. Charles Williams Jr., followed by the performance of our national anthem.
Let us bow our heads, please. It is recorded in the Holy Writ as a process of divine inspiration that where there is no vision, the people perish. Let us pray. Holy God, God of our fathers, God of our mothers, God of our past, God of our present, the God who promises to be the God of our future. We come now as humbly as we know how. We ask, oh gracious God, for a portion of divine grace that somehow we might measure up to be the men, the women, the students, the children that you would have us to be. Bless us, oh God, right now, that we might somehow reach the lofty aspirations that you have for us. Allow us to be the people that we can be by the power of grace divine. Allow us to overcome classism, racism, sexism, militarism. Allow us to be committed to education, to our elderly, to those who are the have-nots of our society. Allow us, oh holy God, to be the people you would have us to be, the people of your promise, the people of your book. And then finally, oh holy God, when we have done all that is within our power to do, when we've gone even the last mile of the way, do in us and for us what we cannot do for ourselves. This is our prayer. In the name of whatever God we pray to, whatever God it might be, our prayer, our humanity, our people. Amen.
By the Lord's early light, are excited. Welcome, Mr. President and our First Lady, and welcome, Mr. Vice President and Mrs. Gore. We are honored to have you with us. Mr. President, we are proud that you chose to come to Norristown Area High School. For we truly are a results-oriented school district committed to preparing our students for the 21st century. On a personal note, I wish that Secretary of Education Riley could be here today. He has been one of this nation's greatest champions of education and young people. Of course, I'm biased since he and I come from the same hometown, the same high school, and the same college. Mr. President, it is fitting for you to come to this school system since our community of students and the programs we operate are a living example of the vision you painted for the American people last night. Our students come from a variety of ethnic and socioeconomic groups, and many immigrate from other countries. In fact, our students speak 13 languages. Black and white, rich and poor, born here and born abroad, all working, studying, and playing together. Our students are America. Mr. President, we have increased our promotion standards and our graduation standards, and as you called for last night, there is no social promotion here. You call for summer schools to help students who do not meet those standards. We have started free summer schools, and our students have been eager to participate. Plus we have started programs to help our students who are unprepared to start kindergarten. Our test scores are up. And you can find our school report cards posted on the internet. Last night you called for better school discipline programs. We have been improving our system, and without a doubt, student behavior is getting better and better. In fact, discipline infractions decreased by 25% last year. Mr. President, as you sit on this stage, we are in the process of implementing a $7.6 million technological upgrade of the entire school district. This upgrade will give our students and staff access to computers and networks that will place our graduates on the cutting edge of technology. Mr. President, our school district is beginning to be known for its leadership in mathematics, science, and technology. I am proud to announce that our district has just been selected as one of the lead schools in the 4-state Hubs project, which promotes a smart region. In our attempt to deal with one of the most pressing problems in America today, our endeavor with Hubs attempts to bridge the gap between the technological haves and have-nots among the children in this community. As you demonstrated last night, education is a top priority of your administration, and we know of your commitment to its cause. So as you look into the faces of our students today, please know that they join me in welcoming you to our high school. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Melissa Ghostin. For us who don't know, she is president of the Student Council. Melissa is a star student in this high school. She is a leader today and will be tomorrow. Melissa.
Thank you, Dr. Woodall, and thank you, Norristown. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the faculty, staff, and students, I would like to extend our warmest welcome to President Clinton, the First Lady, and Vice President and Mrs. Gore. It is a significant event to have these 4 respected leaders here at Norristown Area High School. When we first received the news that they were visiting Montgomery County, we were astonished. Meeting 4 of the world's most powerful figures is something that most people can only dream of. And when we discovered that President Clinton would speak at our high school, our astonishment quickly turned to sheer excitement. As students at Norristown Area High School, we are truly honored to host these prominent guests this evening. This is a special occasion for all of us, especially the graduating seniors, as we prepare to secure our places as the leaders of the new millennium. During the past 6 years, President Clinton has been very successful in keeping a nationwide focus on education, and we, as students, greatly appreciate that support. It is true that knowledge is power, and the need for the improvement of education is an important issue and must never be overshadowed. As a result of the educational reforms, Norristown Area High School has initiated different ways of teaching and conveying information, which has produced well-rounded, insightful individuals. Our excellent facilities and top-of-the-line technological advancements have helped to enhance the personal and intellectual growth of our students. I strongly believe that this school district has fully prepared me for college and all of my future endeavors. Learn and live to serve is the motto of our school, and it is reflected in each and every classroom, as well as beyond the walls of our buildings. It is the commitment to our surrounding community and the solid academic programs that make Norristown Area High School such a fabulous place to strive and to succeed. I'm extremely proud to share in this spectacular event, and on behalf of all the students of Norristown, I'd like to thank our honorable guests for providing us with this incredible opportunity. I'd also like to thank them for pushing back midterms a couple days. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you the newly elected Democratic Member of Congress from Pennsylvania's 13th District. Mr. Joseph M. Hoffel III has been appointed to the House Budget Committee and the House Committee on International Relations. A lifelong resident of Montgomery County, Mr. Hoffel served 7 years as a county commissioner, creating the nation's most extensive land preservation program. He began his political career in 1976 as a state representative. Despite his loss to Republican John Fox in 1996, Mr. Hoffel obtained victory over the incumbent in 1998. A graduate of William Penn Charter School, Boston University, and Temple University School of Law, Mr. Hoffel is now married with 2 children. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Joseph Hoffel.
Thank you. Melissa, you do Norristown proud. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Mrs. Clinton, Mrs. Gore, welcome. Welcome to Montgomery County. This is a big day for us, and we are delighted that you are here. Mr. President, congratulations on a terrific State of the Union speech last night. You refocused the country's attention on the issues that the American people care about and that people in Montgomery County care about. And I must admit that it was sweet to listen to your speech from the floor of the House of Representatives. Mr. President, you are presenting a vigorous, progressive agenda that will secure America's future. Investing the surplus in Social Security, Medicare, and in increased individual savings through the USA accounts. Improving public education by reducing class sizes, by modernizing schools, and by demanding accountability. Reforming health care by controlling the HMOs and passing a patient's Bill of Rights. Helping working families by improving child care and increasing the minimum wage. Mr. President, I support this agenda, and so do the American people. It is time for Congress to get back to work and do the people's business. Mr. Vice President, thank you for your leadership in the Clinton-Gore administration. We in Montgomery County are particularly excited about your vision for open space preservation, growth management, and increasing the livability of our neighborhoods. Our county is in the middle of the largest local open space preservation program in the country. $100 million over 10 years. We will work with you, Mr. Vice President. We'll share whatever experience we have,
and we applaud your vision. Mrs. Clinton, welcome back. Every time you visit Montgomery County, you energize and inspire us. Through your wise counsel, your advocacy, and your leadership, you have forever changed the role of First Lady. We are delighted you are here. It is my pleasure to introduce to everyone Mrs. Gore. She is known as an advocate for families, for women, for children, and has worked tirelessly on the issues that are important to us here in Montgomery County, ensuring quality, affordable health care for all, and particularly for those that are mentally ill. She has promoted a better learning environment for our children. Of particular note, Mrs. Gore is as well known on the streets of Washington for her advocacy and hands-on care for the homeless as she is in the highest councils of government. Mrs. Gore, your understanding of the real issues that face America and your drive to solve our nation's problems make you a model for all that is good about this country. I was delighted to learn when I read Mrs. Gore's biography that she and I are both graduates of Boston University. One of us in 1970, one of us in 1972. I choose not to identify which of us graduated first. But in the what you do. But in the eloquent words of the Boston University cheer, "Go be you! Go Terriers! Tipper Gore!"
Thank you all very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. First of all, what a welcome. Thank you all so much. You make us feel so good. We love you. We love you. Thank you. Great. I am happy to be back in this state. I was here on Monday celebrating Martin Luther King Day in Philadelphia, and the president made it a national day of service, and it was so wonderful to see all the young people out giving of themselves to make their communities better. And I know that these young people are going to continue to do that as they grow older and as they become the leaders in their community. I want to say that it's been a privilege and an honor to be a part of this administration for the past 6 years for so many reasons I think you all know of. The issues that we care about, the fact that this president in the State of the Union talked about the importance of expanding health care to everyone, that he has expanded it to uninsured children and included mental health care in that. And I would like to say in particular, because there are so many young people here, and I know they know what I'm talking about, mental health care is extremely important. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people. I'm sure that many of them know people, their classmates, their friends, who perhaps have talked to them about this. So we need to pay more attention. This president and this administration has and will continue to do that. We understand what the issues are that people really care about. We want to help our kids. We want to help our families be stronger and better. I also want to thank the President because we're having the first ever White House Conference on Mental Health in May, which is going to focus a lot of attention on treatment, diagnosis, and community-based mental health services for people who need them. I also want to thank him for the agenda that he's advanced on helping homeless people get into a continuum of care and get into housing and get into the kind of help relationships that help them rebuild their lives so they can become productive citizens. This doesn't just happen by accident, as you know. It happens because of the leaders that we all decide we want to lead us. And I am proud to have been a part of this administration and to continue the work for the next 2 years that is so important to the families of this country. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your affirmation of the ideas and ideals that we all believe in. And now I want to introduce to you a woman who is, like no other, a role model to so many of you in this room and to those around the world. A woman whose caring heart, whose compassionate nature, whose intelligence and skill has made us proud as Americans here at home, as well as proud to see her represent our nation abroad. I bring you our First Lady, a person who has served with dignity, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. We are very, very pleased we could be here for many reasons, but I think the most important is that for those of you who did see the President's speech last night, much of it was about how we prepare ourselves and our country for the 21st century. And really what that means is what we do to make sure that the young people who attend this high school have an opportunity to live up to the fullest extent of their God-given gifts and potential, and how we as a nation help in every way we can to equip them to meet the challenges of the future. None of us can predict all that will happen in the 21st century. The only prediction that is safe to make based on what has happened just in the last 10, 20, 50 years is that the pace of change will continue and even accelerate. There will be all kinds of challenges that we may not even be able to envision. So what we must do is figure out the best ways to equip all of us, but particularly our young people. So we wanted to come to a place where you are doing just that, where you have a reputation for excellence, where a diverse student body and faculty work together to achieve common goals, and where you do place preparing young people for the future, not only by what they learn, but how they will live their lives and serve at the top of your priorities. I want to thank everyone who worked to make this visit possible. I particularly want to thank your principal, Barry Spencer, and all of the faculty here. I want to thank your superintendent, who just gave an excellent description of what you're doing in this school district to meet the challenges of the 21st century. I want to thank Melissa for representing so well all the students of the high school. And I know that Melissa has some very proud parents, Russell and Nancy Ghostin, and a sister, Leanne, who are here as well, and I want to say hello to them. We also want to thank the Norristown Area High School Orchestra and the Norristown Area High School Concert Choir and Band. And Reverend Williams, thank you for reminding us with the words from the book of Isaiah that where there is no vision, the people perish, and how important it is that we have a common vision that we work to achieve here, not only in Montgomery County or Pennsylvania, but indeed our entire country. I also want to congratulate your new congressman. We are very, very happy to have him representing you in Washington. I look forward to seeing the work he does on behalf of the issues that he already has established a public record on in his previous service and the ones that he will be addressing now in the Congress. One of the most important ways of thinking about how we will prepare ourselves for the 21st century is to look at what is already being done. Last night, the President, among the many important points of the agenda he laid out, he included a particular emphasis on supporting strong families and supporting the kind of work that is the most important work to do, that of raising children. And when he did that, he was thinking about what we all must do. Certainly there are changes that could be made and should be made that he outlined, that only the Congress can make, to expand the Family and Medical Leave Act, to provide more support for quality, affordable child care, to make sure that no parent is ever discriminated against in the workplace merely because that parent has children in the home, to make it possible for stay-at-home parents to have some tax relief so that they can do the most important job as they see fit to do it. There are many different ways that we can support the families of America, and you here in Norristown are showing the way. I've heard about the innovative drop-in child care center at the county courthouse. I've heard about the child care services that are available to those who are moving from welfare to work. I've heard about the important school-business partnerships that encourage parents and businesses to get involved in improving the education of all the young people here. So at every level of our society, what we individually must do to equip ourselves, what we can do together in our communities, what we can do across our regions and states, and what we must do as a nation. The President, since the very first day he said he wanted to be president back in October of 1991 and all through the 1992 campaign, has kept his focus on what we needed to do as a nation. And he has never lost his focus for one day about what is important for America and Americans in the future. At the heart of this president's agenda is an abiding belief and an optimism and a hope about the kind of people we are and can be, and with particular attention paid to what we must do as parents and grandparents to make it possible for young people to inherit our nation in as good a shape as we can give it to them. And standing by his side from the very beginning, working extraordinarily hard with an unbelievable dedication, has been a man who understands the future as well as anybody I've ever met, who has been on the cutting edge of defining what we needed to understand about technology or the environment. Someone who has made an extraordinary contribution already to America. It gives me a great honor and privilege to introduce the Vice President of the United States, Al Gore.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Montgomery County. Thank you very much for your warm welcome. And it is a warm welcome. I want to thank the First Lady for her kind comments, and you know, there is no doubt Pennsylvania loves Hillary Rodham Clinton. Tipper and I are
are so proud to be with all of you here today, and we have been so privileged to serve with this President and this First Lady over the last 6 years and 7.5 hours, because we had the 6-year anniversary of this administration at high noon today. And Tipper and I were reflecting on the way up here about what a wonderful privilege it has been to work hard for ideas that really matter to the American people and for progress that's greatly needed for the American people. And we heard a lot more last night about how we can make still more progress as we prepare our nation for the 21st century. Did you all hear the President's State of the Union address last night? Was that some great speech? Do you agree with that agenda? Are you willing to fight for it? Let's pass it. Thank you. You know, you've got some great members of Congress here who are fighting hard to pass this agenda and to bring about the further positive changes that we need. And I do want to compliment Congressman Joe Huffle and his wife Francesca. They were in our home recently, and you all have chosen so wisely as well. Their children, Mary and Jake, are here. It's a wonderful family, and Joe Huffle is off to a great start in your behalf. I know that you have very high expectations, and they're well placed. I want to also acknowledge two other members of Congress who are here, both of whom do a fantastic job on behalf of the people of this state and the people of this country. Congressman Shaka Fatah and Congressman Bob Brady. Would both of you all stand up, please? And Congressman Brady's wife, Debbie, is here, and Congressman Fatah's son, Chip, is here, and I wanted to acknowledge them. I wanted to acknowledge your wonderful House Democratic leader in Pennsylvania, Bill DeWeese, State Representatives Joe Gladdick, John Fichter, Lawrence Curry, Connie Williams, and John Lawless, and State Senator Stuart Greenleaf. Let's welcome all of these elected officials who are here. And the chairman of your Montgomery County Board of Commissioners, Mario Melli, and also County Commissioner Jim Mesa, Norristown Council VP Margaret Hunsicker, and council members Joe Burns and Thomas Murray, and former member of Congress and a great public servant, Marjorie Margolis-Mezvinsky, and her husband, Ed Mezvinsky. And Pastor Williams, that was quite an invocation. I appreciated that very much. And to other members of the clergy who are present, and to Dr. Woodall, superintendent of the schools in the Norristown area, thank you very much. And also to Melissa Ghostin, president of the Norristown Student Council. And, you know, I think it's appropriate that, she gave a great speech, and it is appropriate that she be recognized. I did want to say this. I think that we should also recognize the vice president of the Student Council, Christopher Blake, and it's so easy to overlook that position, and actually it's an extremely significant position, and you and me, and you know, coming to the Norristown area, I'm reminded of two more of your favorite sons, Tommy Lasorda and Mike Piazza. As many of you know here, Tommy was a great player at Norristown Area High before he got drafted. Mike was a pretty good player too, even though he didn't play for the Eagles. But when Tommy Lasorda knew Mike Piazza's family, he was Mike's godfather, and he urged the Dodgers to draft Mike as a favor to Piazza's father. So they did in the 62nd round. But he never gave up. Mike Piazza worked harder than everyone else on the field, and that is exactly the spirit that I see and hear right here in this group here today, and it's the kind of dedication we need to move this country forward. Now, ladies and gentlemen, last night, President Bill Clinton stood before this nation and reported that the state of our union is strong. And it is, but that's really kind of an understatement, because many of the economic experts are now adding up the figures and consulting the history books and looking back over the decades, indeed centuries, and many of them are now beginning to write that actually our economy right now may be the strongest economy we've ever had in the entire history of the United States of America. But we've got more work to do still. It is now the longest and strongest economic expansion in peacetime in the history of the nation. As I say, the overall figures are adding up in a very impressive way. But we're also making tremendous progress in solving other problems. We have the lowest crime rate in a quarter century, the smallest welfare rolls in 30 years, the cleanest environment in many decades. And you know, 6 years ago, it's worth remembering that when the Clinton-Gore administration started on January 20th, 6 years ago, we had in our nation at that moment by far the biggest, highest budget deficit in the history of the United States. And you know what? We've not only eliminated it, we now have by far the biggest budget surplus in the history of the United States. That's a turnaround for progress. Now, we have cut taxes for middle-income families. We have brought the crime rate down. We've invested more in key priority areas that will build our country's strength for the 21st century, balance the budget. The president will talk about his plans for the future and the use of that surplus. We're seeing progress across the board, all these new jobs, lower unemployment rate, all of the rest, greater opportunities for all these young people. This did not happen by accident. It happened because we've had leadership. I listened also to the invocation and that famous line from Scripture, where there is no vision, the people shall perish. Well, I'll tell you what. The flip side of that phrase is where there is a clear, strong, wise vision on the part of a president of the United States of America, our country prospers. Thank you, President Bill Clinton, for your vision and for your leadership and for your presidency. We're doing well in America. We're doing well. And the president knows that this is no time to rest on our laurels, because this wonderful economy is one that not everybody is participating in. You know, in times past, we've had some good economic periods, and a lot of communities and individuals and families have been left behind. And from the very beginning, Bill Clinton has said, we've got to try our best to create the kind of progress that everybody can share in. And so we're redoubling our efforts to do just that. And because we are, in his phrase at the end of his speech last night, at the mountaintop of this American century, able to see into the future, it is obvious that we need to use our strength and our economic prosperity in order to do even better and to solve the problems that remain unsolved. And so he is charting for our nation a bold course and offering a bold new agenda to prepare us for the 21st century. In presenting the president to you, I just want to mention briefly 3 areas in which we're going to concentrate attention. First of all, Joe Huffle talked about this issue that some call livability or smart growth. And I'm well aware that Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, has been a leader in this field, thanks in significant measure to what you've done over the years, Joe, and what we appreciate that. You've been a great leader in this area. Others have joined with you. And you know, in the county that boasts the home of John Audubon himself, you started one of the largest initiatives ever to preserve open spaces, to maintain parks and greenways and trails and precious farmlands. And we're learning from communities like this one. We don't have to have a future in which the traffic jams get longer and bigger and more unwieldy, where parents are explaining to their children on cell telephones why they can't get home to read them a bedtime story, where road rage is on the evening news every night. People are out there bumper to bumper. And so the president is proposing the single largest investment in smart growth in the history of the United States of America to help communities all over our nation save open space, ease that traffic congestion, improve the quality of life, and have a cleaner environment. Let's build an America that's not just better off, but also better and brighter for the children and grandchildren that deserve a bright future. That's what this issue is all about. Now, secondly, you know, the environment's very important, and we have been doing more to clean up the environment than any other administration ever has, and at the same time building this strong economy. So those goals go together. And the second issue I would like to talk about from the president's agenda is the need to strengthen families. We live our lives primarily in the venue of our families, and families can contribute to the healing that we all need, or they can make situations worse. And so the president from the very beginning has talked about and worked for this goal, and the First Lady has been tireless and very eloquent in pursuing this agenda as well. I just want to single out one issue that is right at the heart of this agenda for families, and that is the Healthcare Patients' Bill of Rights. What it's all about is this: if there is a crucial medical decision that affects you or a member of your family, that decision ought to be made by a doctor and not by some accountant or a company that's trying to cut corners at the expense of your health. It's just that simple. You know, a lot of times doctors are put in a situation where they are not allowed to do what they think is the right thing for their patient, and instead the decision is made by some young bureaucrat on the other end of a telephone line who does not have a license to practice medicine and does not have a right to play God, and we need to change that situation. Matter of fact, reminds me a little bit of a joke that I heard the other day about three neighbors who died and went to heaven and ran into St. Peter. And St. Peter interviewed all three of them in succession and asked the first one, "What did you do on earth?" And she said, "Well, I was a doctor. I cured the sick all my life." And he said, "Well, come on into heaven." And he asked the second one, "Well, what did you do?" And he said, I was a teacher. I taught children all my life." St. Peter said, well, come on into heaven." And he asked the third one, and the third one was a little sheepish, and he said, "Well, I ran an HMO." And St. Peter said, "Well, come on in, but you can only stay 3 days." That's what they've been doing to us. And we need to change it. A few months ago, a doctor told me a true story about a patient of his who came into the emergency room and went into full cardiac arrest. His heart stopped. He died right on the table. And the doctor used all of his skills and one of those instruments they call a defibrillator, and they eventually brought this person back to life, restarted his heart, sent the bill to the HMO. The HMO refused to pay, true story, because they said it was not an emergency. Well, now, some of those fighting against this president's agenda may feel that the absence of a heart is not an emergency, but to us it is, and we need a healthcare patient's Bill of Rights to put the power and the decision-making authority in the hands of doctors and medical professionals for the good of families. Now, finally, the third issue I want to mention from this agenda that we're fighting so hard for is education. If we want to build a stronger nation for the 21st century, we have to understand a couple of facts. Number one, we are in the early stages of an information revolution without any precedent in the whole history of humankind. We're seeing a dramatic change in the nature of work. All professions, all jobs are being changed. Some older jobs are disappearing. A lot of new ones are appearing. A lot of traditional jobs are changing the way people do them. And so the strategic resource for the 21st century is knowledge. And that means the strategic skill is learning. And that means that just as in the earlier days of the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, we got together and pooled our resources and worked together to build ports and railroads and to make sure that factories had the resources they needed and to make sure that we could make the industrial economy work for us instead of against us. Now it's obvious in the information age, we need to get together and make sure that we have the best school system in the entire world right here in the United States of America, because that's how we'll compete in the 21st century. And so we've been working to get more teachers into the classroom and bring the classroom size down so teachers have more time to spend with individual students. We want to lift up teachers. We honor teachers. We don't want to tear down public schools. We appreciate what teachers do. And for these young people, under this president's leadership, we've tried to open up the access to higher education, and he'll talk about that. It's an important accomplishment. But there's one other thing that was on the agenda last year that the president said, look, we didn't do it last year, and he pleaded with the Congress, do it this time. I want you to listen to this, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree, but I want to ask you. We have a lot of schools in America that are crumbling. There are holes in the ceiling and cracks in the wall and portable classrooms. You've got a lot of investment going on right here, but just 20 minutes away in the North Penn School District, there are a lot of portable classrooms. And okay, y'all will meet on the athletic field later in the year, I'm sure. But here's my point. Nobody should be in inadequate facilities. You know, when we talk about controlling crime, we listen to the police officers tell us that if a neighborhood's run down and there are broken windows and there's litter all over and graffiti, then the message to would-be criminals is, if you want to commit a crime, this might be just the place. There's an unwritten but powerful message in the nature and appearance of the community. Well, the same thing happens in a schoolroom and a school building. If our country allows a school building to be so run down that it's hard for the children to concentrate. I was in a school where they had to move the desks away from where the ceiling tiles regularly fell down. I was in another school that was so overcrowded they had to feed the children lunch in shifts, and the first shift, elementary school, started at 9:30 in the morning, and they just kept on going until the early afternoon. Well, the message, unwritten but powerful, is if you're looking for a place to goof off, this might be just your place, because we obviously don't care enough to fix up your school and connect it to the information superhighway and make sure that it's prepared for the 21st century. And so this president has said, we've got to take on that challenge. After all, we're all baby boomers. When we first went into the elementary schools in the early 1950s, there were portable classrooms then, Quonset huts left over from World War II. But the World War II veterans got busy and did something about it. And they built a lot of new schools, and they passed the GI Bill, and they hired new teachers and gave them the training that they need. And they stocked the school libraries with the most up-to-date books, and they made the biggest investment in education that up until that time had ever been made. And our nation benefited from those investments in education. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there was a study that came out last summer that didn't get too much attention from the news media, but to me it was very significant. It showed that these young people who are under the age of 18 have now just passed by the baby boom generation, and now they are the biggest generation in the history of the United States of America. Now, the question is this: are those of us in a position to act today ready, willing, and able to take responsibility for facing this challenge the way the World War II veterans did when the baby boomers were coming along into the schools? Our future is in these children, and their future is in their classrooms with their teachers, in what they learn and in their capacity to learn. And so our president has said it is time to pass national legislation to make it possible for local school districts to build new schools and modernize the classroom and create facilities that are worthy of these children, where they can learn and be prepared for the 21st century. Now, finally, we're doing well, and we've got the agenda we need for the future. This president's outlined a vision, and he has the leadership skills to take us on the right road toward that bright future. But there is one question that we have to answer. The people of the United States of America, because there's a lot of resistance to this president's agenda. You've seen it and you've heard it. We've been able to prevail on many things, but there are a lot of battles that lie ahead. We need some bipartisan help. But you know, the response of the people of the United States to this president and his agenda will determine whether or not we will continue moving in the right direction and pass this agenda. So as I present the president to you, I want to ask all of you, including those in the overflow room. There are almost as many people in the overflow room listening to us on the television screen there as there are here. And we're going to go by after this event and say hello to them personally. But I want to ask all of you, to demonstrate to the people of the United States of America that right here in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, you agree with President Bill Clinton's agenda for the future of the United States of America. You support this president. You want to see him lead our country in the right direction. You want to pass these measures. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you President Bill Clinton.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's good. Thank you. That's good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You know, thank you. First, let me say to all of you that when we came in here tonight, I think it's fair to say that Hillary and Al and Tipper and I were literally overwhelmed by this reception. And I knew that this was a wonderful community. I knew this was a wonderful school. I knew there was a lot of enthusiasm. But it didn't all quite add up until I realized that we had caused your exams to be delayed. And I want you to know that we're having such a good time. We'd be delighted to come back about this time next term if you want, and we'll make this a regular thing. I want to thank Dr. Williams for his magnificent invocation. I thank Dr. Woodall for the remarks he made, for making us welcome here, and for the example that he and
Mr. Spencer, the principal here, all the teachers here, and all the students and teachers from this school and the other schools here represented, I thank you for what you're doing and for the example you're setting for America. I'd like to thank all of our musicians and the choir for playing and singing for us. And I want to thank Melissa for speaking so well. Weren't you proud of her? She did a great job of that. Glad I never had to run against her for anything. She was really... I also want to thank all these wonderful people from Pennsylvania who have come here, all the officials and citizens from this area and from Philadelphia and nearby areas. Let me say, there was a lot of talk tonight keying off Reverend Williams' invocation about vision. I'd like to say something else, if I might, out of respect to others. It is a good thing to have a vision, because otherwise you never know where you're going. So you have to have one. I ran for president beginning in 1991 because I thought our country was drifting, and because I believed that if you look at these young people here, one elementary school in this area has kids from 50 countries speaking 13 languages. And if you look at all these young people and their parents and everybody in this room, and you imagine what the world is going to be like, then you know it's going to get smaller and smaller, and we're going to have more and more relationships, and the borders will become more and more open. It's hard to imagine any country in the world that is remotely as well positioned as America to give people the chance to make the most of their own lives. But we had to have a vision. My vision for the 21st century was pretty simple. I wanted us to have a country for the children of the Gores and the Clintons and all the other kids in our country, where every person who was a responsible citizen would have a genuine opportunity to live out their dreams. I wanted us to have a country where, over all the differences between us, we would relish those differences. Our racial, our religious, our cultural differences, our serious differences we would debate seriously, but we would honor our common humanity and our shared values as Americans enough to say what unites us is so much more important than what divides us. We will build one America in the 21st century. And I wanted us to continue to be the country as we grew more diverse and therefore had deeper and deeper ties with more and more other people around the world. I wanted America to recognize that because of our wealth and position, we have not only the opportunity but a responsibility to continue to be the world's leading force for peace and freedom and prosperity for others. It is good for ourselves to do the right thing in trying to build the rest of the world and build closer ties. Now, it is a good thing to have a vision. You can't get started without it, otherwise you don't know where you're going. The Vice President talked about Tommy Lasorda and Mike Piazza, my favorite baseball player of all time, because he was such a wonderful speaker, was Yogi Berra. You know, Yogi Berra said, "We don't know where we're going, but we're making good time." So you have to have a vision, but you have to have something else too. You have to have people who are willing to act on it. I hope you could see with the four of us up here, we like being together. We've worked closely together. We see ourselves as a family, and we see our allies as a family. When I came to Washington, I wanted to do something about homelessness, but Tipper Gore helped me do it. I wanted to raise the consciousness of America about all kinds of things that we sort of kept hidden under the rug, but were hurting people. mental health was one of the most important. Tipper Gore helped me do it. I wanted to prove that we could have a smaller government. We now have the smallest federal government since 1962, but I wanted to do it in a way that wouldn't just throw good federal employees in the street and that would enable us to do more. The Vice President made it possible for us to do that. He led that effort. I wanted to prove that we could grow the economy and improve the environment by doing things like building new cars that would triple gas mileage. The Vice President has led our efforts there. And in dealing with all the promise of new technology and trying to hook up all our schools and libraries to the internet. And in managing a big portion of our relations with Russia, South Africa, and other countries. I can say without qualification that no vice president in history has had so much responsibility or done so much good. And so the vision requires an actor. And if it hadn't been for Hillary, for all the good intentions in the world, we wouldn't have done nearly as much to advance the cause of health care or child care or education or to observe the millennium. We wouldn't have been able to do it. When I see Joe Huffle standing up here talking, and I know he's going to be a strong force on the committees that he's got, and I see another new congressman out there, my longtime friend Bob Brady from Philadelphia, or I know that they will be implementers of a vision. Or Chaka Fattah, who got you all worked up there, when he stood up, you know what he did? He passed a bill in the Congress last year that I was for, but I could not have passed it. I'll tell you the truth. I could not have done it. But he went around to Republicans and Democrats alike and said, you know, I come from Philadelphia. There are a lot of poor kids there that have never had a real chance. They come from poor families. They live in tough neighborhoods, but they've got good minds. Will you help me pass a bill that will provide the necessary financial support for college students to come in and mentor these kids in middle school so they'll go on to college? And we did it because of that. So it's not just... Now, I'll give you one other example. Last time I came here as president was in 1993 to a conference on entitlement reform. Entitlement reform is a fancy way of saying, with everybody living longer and the baby boomers about to retire, all of the rest of you aren't going to be able to afford to pay our medical and retirement bills unless we do something. That's what entitlement reform means. And I knew the first thing we had to do was to get the economy going. And I said, you know, I've got this economic plan, and it's not going to be very popular with a lot of people because it has a lot of tough decisions. We are asking people who are the wealthiest people in America to pay a little more in income taxes, sometimes a lot more if they were really well off. We're asking people who are used to getting government programs to do without a few hundred of them until we get this budget in balance. But if we do it, we'll lower interest rates, cutting home mortgages and the interest rates on car payments and credit cards. And we'll get investment back in the country. We'll have jobs coming back in the country. And the money you will save on the stock market going up and the interest rates going down will be far greater than the money those of us who are well off had to pay and a little more taxes. It was very controversial, and people said, oh, it will bring an end to the economy. It will end the American economy as we know it. It will drive us into recession. Well, you heard what the Vice President said about the country with the longest peacetime expansion in history, the lowest peacetime unemployment since 1957, and all of that. What you should know is that this county has had, since that economic program passed and the interest rates started going down, 1,800 new businesses and 44,000 new jobs, the highest growth in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, the decisive vote that made all that possible was cast in Congress by Marjorie Margolis Mezvinsky. Now, and it was so, but we won by one vote in the House, and it was tied in the Senate. The decisive vote in the Senate was cast by Al Gore. And as he says, since he gets to vote whenever there's a tie, whenever he votes, we win. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, we had a good vision, but somebody's got to carry the water. Somebody has to make the decisions. Somebody has to push the rocks up the hill. Somebody has to take that step and jump off the diving board. Someone has to move. People have to act on their vision. That's why I said last night, and that's why that sign says, let's get to work. We have a good vision, but we must act. And for all of you, I thank you. I wanted to come here to this school because this school district represents what I think America ought to do. You know, I know not every school district has the resources. So if we want everybody to end social promotion but have summer school and after-school programs, we have to provide the funds from Washington to help the school districts do it. If we want to turn around schools that aren't working, we have to provide help from Washington, and we're doing that. But I want people to see this school district all over America, on the news tonight, in the articles tomorrow. I want people to know we came here to a place that has done important things, to give kids who needed extra help, to have high standards, to do things that will create a vision that people will want to act on. I think to have a motto like learn and live to serve is a stunning thing. And I hope you will live by it all your lives. And most of you here know this, but for the benefit of the press, I want to say this. Every high school graduate in this school district gets a license, a driver's license size copy of the diploma. And on the back, it has the computer skills the graduate has mastered. That's a driver's license to the future. I would like to see that modeled in other places all across America as well. So, you've already heard what we have to say, but it's plain that America is working again, but every one of you knows. If we had time to do it, I'd give everybody a piece of paper, and I'd ask you to write down, you might do this when you go home tonight. I'd ask you to write down somewhere between 3 and 6 things, no more than 6, that you believe are the long-term challenges that will face you young people in the 21st century. And what is it that we could do now that would pave the way to a better future for you? I can tell you that I did my best in the State of the Union last night to say, okay, we've got America working again, but what are the long-term challenges? And you've heard them talked about tonight, and I won't belabor them, but let me say, we have to build strong communities in the 21st century that gives everyone a chance at opportunity. That means we have to do more to have the kind of economic opportunity in places where unemployment is high and people make low wages that you have here. That means putting more money in there. It means teaching adults better skills. It means teaching those who are first-generation Americans to read better if that's what it takes. It means doing whatever is necessary to get these economies going. It means continuing to drive the crime rate down. It means making all communities livable communities, to set aside the land that we need to set aside, to have the green space, to manage the traffic, to do the things that will make people free and happy if they live anywhere in America. These are the kinds of things we have to do. It means reconciling work and family. One of the best things that the Gores have done is for the last 7 years they have had a conference in Tennessee every year on the challenges modern families face. And most all of them relate somehow or other to the need to balance work and family, a challenge that faces Americans in all income groups. I bet there is not a family here that has not at some point in the last couple of years faced some sort of challenge of balancing your responsibilities to your children, to your responsibilities to your work. That's why we want a child care plan that includes help for stay-at-home parents when the children are very young, but real help for working people that can't afford quality child care on their own. Because in America, when I look at all of you, I want you to be free and confident when you start your families that you can do what you want in your work life, but you know that your first responsibility is to raise your children, and you're going to be able to succeed at that responsibility. The Vice President told you that rather gripping story about the HMOs. The truth is, we have to manage the healthcare system. It's like any other system. We have to keep the cost as low as possible, but the quality of our people's health counts most. That's why we say you ought to be able to see a specialist if you need one. You ought to be able to go to the nearest emergency room. You ought to be able to have your medical records private, and all the other things in our Patients' Bill of Rights, because we've got to balance the need to save money with the fundamental necessity of providing quality health care to all Americans. And I'd just like to say one other thing. We said a lot about education tonight, but I would like to say something about the very first subject I talked about last night in the State of the Union, and that is the aging of America. And again, I want to say this is an issue that should be of primary importance, not to today's retirees, but to tomorrow's retirees, their children and their grandchildren yet unborn. Because when the baby boomers retire, and that includes the parents of just about all the students here, people between the ages of 34 and 52 were the people born in the generation after World War II, the largest group of people in history in America, young people, until the present class of students, which numbers over 53 million. Now, when we retire, we're going to double the number of seniors by the year 2030. There will be 2 people working for every 1 person drawing Social Security. And what we've got to do, and the average life expectancy is already 76 years old plus. For the young people here, it's probably about 83 years. This is a high-class problem. The older you get, the more you'll be glad that that's going up. This is a high-class problem, but we do not want to get into a position where our retirement is a financial burden to our children and undermines our children's ability to raise our grandchildren. So when I tell you that we ought to set aside roughly 75% of this surplus we've got for the next 15 years to save Social Security and to save Medicare, and in the process, since we'll be saving the money, we'll be paying down the national debt, giving us the lowest level of debt we've had as a nation since before World War I in 1917, keeping interest rates down, investment high, jobs creation going, and incomes rising. I say that not just for those of us who will be older, but for our kids and our grandkids. And I hope you will see it that way. This is a big test for us. We hadn't had this kind of situation in a long, long time. And very rarely do societies have the luxury of being financially strong enough, militarily secure enough, and having enough information about the future to make the kind of decisions that I asked the American people to make last night. Yes, we ought to give some tax cuts, but they ought to be the right kind. They ought to be for child care. They ought to be for helping us deal with our environmental challenges. They ought to be for people saving for their own retirement, because Social Security will never be enough for that. They ought to be for raising children. But we can save this money now and lift a burden from the young people here. I want every parent here to look at the young people here and ask yourself, do you really want to run the risk of squandering this surplus that we have worked so hard for until we know for sure that our retirement will not compromise the integrity of their lives and their ability to raise their children as we have tried to raise them? Now, the young people here are going to have a fascinating time. The internet is already growing by, millions and millions of new pages every week. It's the fastest growing communication mechanism in human history. People are able to move around as never before, and even if you can't leave town now, you've got people from all over the world right next door. We are learning things that we have never imagined before. We are on the verge of not only unlocking the mysteries of the human gene, but actually finding medical treatments to cure or even prevent things from Alzheimer's to arthritis to all kinds of cancers. This is a stunning time. I went to the auto show in Detroit the other day, and the one thing I'm looking forward to, I love this job, and I'm not looking forward to 2 years from now and being barred from being president by the Constitution's 2-term limit. But one thing I am looking forward to now that I've been to the Detroit Auto Show is getting back in those cars, because the cars of the future are going to be environmentally sound and hilariously fun to drive and safer. This is going to be an interesting time for you to live in. But we have to do our best in this time to, first of all, make it safe, dealing with the challenges of nuclear and chemical and biological weapons, to give you the strongest communities possible, to build one America across our lines of diversity, and to think about the future. When I ran for president in 1992, before I ever made the decision to run, a young man, who's now not quite so young, he's a graduate student, named Sean Landris, was driving me around Los Angeles. I was an anonymous, virtually anonymous governor of Arkansas. But Sean Landris knew something about me and the speeches I'd made and the things I was interested in. And he said, "Are you going to run for president?" And I said, "Well, I haven't decided yet, but I might." He said, "Well, if you do, here's what I think your theme song ought to be." And he put in and he had a little tape deck in his car, and he put this tape deck in this old Fleetwood Mac song, "Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow," which was made before he was born. And so we made it our theme song. And I believe that those of us in positions of responsibility have no higher responsibility than to think about your tomorrows. And when you reach our age, you will want more and more to think about the tomorrows of your children and your grandchildren. What I tried to say last night is, there's never been a time when we had brighter tomorrows. All we have to do is act on our vision. Let's get to work. Thank you, and God bless you.